guys. How are you doing today? Um, this is day two in a row, which I haven't been doing much of lately. But I definitely wanted to put some more poly content because I've definitely been on a lot of other lives. So welcome if you're new to the channel. We are a relationship channel. We talk about different relationships, and it doesn't have to be like girlfriend, boyfriend. It could be, family relations, work relationships, friend relationships, and how those relationships affect us every day, and how the kind of relationships we build with people and with our, even with our jobs, our interests, really have a big effect on how we live our lives and how we can be more productive in those in those lives and everything. So, don't discount your relationships, and they don't have to be a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, husband wife relationship. It can be, all kinds of different relationships. So we kind of talk about that here. We do talk about food, health, which are still connected to the relationships with food, relationships with your obsession maybe with games, all kinds of things. So that's what we kind of focus here um, on my channel with. So if you guys are new, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me. Go ahead and subscribe if you really like this content, and if you want to see more, please go down below and comment. Tell me what you guys want to see and hear. I've really been trying to like kind of reorganize my channel. So, take some time and look through some things. I do have videos up. We have a Poly by Nations short series and that we do. And then we also have just a health sessions talks about mainly just like fitness, health, in relationships with fitness and things like that. On there, you have like skincare, all kinds of things there. So you can check those out. That way, if you're here for a particular reason, and let's say you want to talk about just health, you can go there. But if you want to talk about more relationships or specifically poly, you can have our little poly talks here, and we can go from there. So thank you guys for checking me out. So today, right? Today is a poly talk day. Um, One of the things that I noticed, even in the content and some of the things I've been hearing on some of those lives I do, is kind of like people wondering about the transition. And what I mean by transition, because people are like, what do you mean transition? A lot of people now that poly is becoming a little bit more public in America. Okay. People are kind of like wondering, like, hey, like what do I do? How do I start that? That sounds ridiculous. Nobody's gonna want to do that with me. No one wants to hear the truth. And you hear that negative stuff a lot. You know what I'm saying? So when you're deciding that, hey, you know what, monogamy hasn't been working for me, and I'm almost done with possibly like just a dating scene for a minute. A lot of people have to take a lot of dating breaks because dating can become very overwhelming, can be stressful, and it doesn't matter if it's poly or not poly. So if you come to that decision that you would like to try a different kind of relationship structure, definitely, you know, reach out and find some help. Okay. And so I want to put a video out, which I do have a different one, but I want to put this video out again to kind of talk about that and what that transition kind of looks like and what can you expect from that transition. Because a lot of people walk into that just saying, okay, I'm gonna get two girlfriends, ooh, we're gonna be good, I'm gonna have two booze. It's a lot more than just that. It sounds really easy and simple, and yes, you want things to be easy and simple, but they usually don't work that way. So, first thing I want to point out is when you decide to jump into public, okay, you're like, hey, I thought about it, I maybe want to do this. First thing you want to do is research. Please do the research. Now, I know some people are like, I don't want to do that, it's too much work. But what I mean by research is do a little bit of, intel. You want to know what this animal's about. You don't want to just run in there thinking that it's something that it's not. So you want to start off by kind of finding out what it is. You don't have to jump into the language if you don't want to. That is, I believe the language part is a good part to know, but the in-depth language, unless you are trying to get a really deep understanding and use things properly, then you don't have to touch it that much. But if you really want to just find out what it means when it's a tripod, what does that mean? What is a quad? What is table poly? What is solo poly? What does it look like if I have a partner already, uh, but we don't want to break up? They live in another place. What does that look like? What is that called? Like that's what you want to do so that when someone else who's actually practicing poly can identify with you and then identify what you are so they know if the match will work. And that's really important. I'm so sorry. So yeah, so the next part after you kind of do your recon, I would say now I will say possibly. I'm gonna say this with caution, booze, because I want to tell you if you are deciding to go into poly and you have a partner and you're trying to do a transition together, please reach out to someone who is a life coach. I myself am a life coach, or you can reach out to um, a therapist who specializes in poly relationships. That's very important. If they do poly and monogamy, great. If you go to a therapist or someone who is a counselor who only works with monogamous relationships, they're not going to relate to you and they're going to try to um, guide you back to monogamy because, first off, that's where they know how to function. They don't understand those other dynamics. And if they do kind of say they heard about it once or twice, their specialty is not in that area. So they're not going to guide you in that area. They're gonna basically try to get you refocused on monogamy. And if you're not reaching out to that, then they're going to try to. And I'm not saying anything's wrong, but there's a lot of people who will try to get you back on the monogamy tip because that's what they know. So if they say things like, "Hey, why do you want another person in your relationship? Is just because you can't function by yourself?" And you'll be like, no. And especially if you're already dealing with trying to figure out if that's the case, I'm telling you, they're gonna point you down that hole. And if you once you realize, well, no, I don't think that was it, and you go to them, they're gonna be like, yeah, I think that was it. Because if you have figured that out, they're still gonna point you back. So if you deal with someone who isn't a specialist in both areas, that's the person you really want to find because they're gonna know the difference. And don't think, oh well, that means either way you go, they're gonna be biased. That is not true. That's why I believe that if you go to a person who specializes in both is the best. Because what you're trying to do is we don't care what you want to do. It's not about that. It's about finding what works for you. So if my goal is finding out what works for you, I'm not going to throw you where my specialty is because that benefits me. And I don't really know about this one. I heard bad things about the other one, or I don't know too much about that. It doesn't seem right. I'm going to put you in a direction that best fits you. So when you're in that, remember that no matter what you do in life, that when you're looking for insight and when you are trying to kind of decipher what's right and wrong or what's this and that, remember that sometimes you have to back up and find someone or look at the whole story. And if you can find someone who can see the whole story, that's your best bet. Or at least if you do find someone who knows one part, great. And then find someone who knows the other part, great. And then you develop you develop a system from that because now you have information from both sides. And now you can make a decision based on that information. So I will tell you that. So that's what you want to do. Now, second part to this is okay. Let me go over here too because I want to say hi to anyone who's come to visit us. I'm gonna put my comments up so I can see them. So hey guys, thank you for joining. But okay, so yes, if you want to go into that decision of being poly, next part to that is you want to now after you do a little bit of recon and then maybe you decided, hey, I want to talk to a life coach or someone who knows that. Do that. That's awesome. You know what I'm saying? Now you did your little recon. Please don't only look up YouTube videos. They're a great start. Please don't only look up Wiki. Please look up things like TED Talks. Look up things like doctor reviews. Um, look up things where there is someone who's educated, highly educated, a doctor, a teacher, educator. Look up some things that they've written or some works that they have done, because that's gonna really get you some deeper intel. Okay, so don't just only do that. I know maybe your capacity. You can look up YouTube, but if you look up YouTube, find like the doctor who did this or a TED talk, so you can kind of get someone who's done the research and qualified. Okay, so you want to do that too. You don't have to do a whole bunch of it, but just try to do that. That's very important. Okay, so you got all that information. You did your recon. Next steps. Next to the on step, right? So the next part is finding out what dynamic will work for you. Really important. So what you want to do at this point is think about the dynamics. Now, if you don't know what dynamic is, that's just a nice way of saying what kind of relationship structure will work for you. So there's something called polygamy. You will have two women and one man. You usually hear that a lot. You know, you'll see that in other countries a whole lot. So that is a man with two partners. Now we're not gonna get in depth, so please, I know y'all trying in the comments or later on be like, hey, well you use different words. This is for the basic. What do we do? So we're not gonna get in detail with our language. We don't want word soup. Okay. So what we're gonna do is, like I said, polygamist has two women, and usually they're not bisexual. Okay, they're there for the man, they're his partners, but they also call each other sister wives because they're wives and like sisters because they live and function in a whole. As same goes for polyandry, same kind of dynamic. Now you'll see a lot of polyandry if you're looking for that. You're wondering what that looks like, and you know in America you probably won't see a whole bunch of that. You're very, 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 very true. Okay, you're very, very right. Sorry. So what you do is you go and look in Africa. Go look up some content in Africa. You will see it. Africa actually has laws in South Africa now that says you can marry two men at the same time legally. So if you need to get an idea of what that looks like, there's actually a lot of polyandry that's in Africa. Take a little look and see what that looks like if that's something you're interested in. Same thing, it's opposite. Then you have polyamory. Polyamory is the new baby because not that never existed. A polyamory is like build your own relationship. Polyamory has so many dynamics that it's polyamory itself. It's just like I said, build your own. You got tripods in there. You got table poly people in there. You got solo poly. Like all these words, you're gonna be like, oh my god. So basically, um, you can have any relationship dynamic that works for you. So if you're interested in dating couples and you want a relationship with the woman also, but you just want you be you three, that is not polygamy anymore because the women are having their own individual relationship also. So it kind of transitions to polyamory. Some people still say that's polygamy, um, but it is not based on what polygamy is, which is that the those partners are not together. It's usually not the case. So uh, sometimes, like I said, like the word soup, and some people want to keep qualifying certain things. Certain things, we're not here for that. We're just going to give you the general information and just to let you know what you might hear. You may hear that someone say that a tripod with two women is polygamy. You may hear that. You know what it means. You know what that dynamic looks like. So when you're out there and you're trying to date, you'll know what that looks like. And you don't have to be like, oh, well, what exactly does area does it fit in? Like, do you really care? No, you don't. Okay. So you just know what you are doing, and that's it. And that's really basically what it is. You have two women and a man in a relationship, a tripod. Could it be polygamy? Yes. Could they want to be with each other? Yes. Could they not? Yes. And so you just leave it at that. Okay. So yeah, polyamory is the bigger animal there. There's all kinds. When you open a polyamory, there is just such a large amount of dynamics that can happen. There's something even called a web, which I webs are kind of big. Webs are kind of big. It really is where partners can have different partners. Some partners don't have to have partners. It is a lot. If you jump into a web poly, it can get really big and it can also look very much so like someone who's in the lifestyles um, arena. Now, if you don't know what lifestyles is, that's just a word that people use to describe basically lifestyles of people who do uh, particular activities like wife swapping, BDSM is kind of thrown in there. Uh, what is that called? Oh gosh, now I'm gonna forget. People who are voyeurs, people who are exhibitionists, um, cockholds are in there. So those are all thrown in there. These are activities that are done in a relationship, and it doesn't matter what the relationship is. So you can actually be poly and into lifestyles because the lifestyles are activities you do in your relationship. And they usually are looked at as taboo things to do. So if somebody is in a web poly situation where they have seven partners and some of their partners have partners, that kind of looks like that group of people on that web are possibly into lifestyles because there's a lot of partners. I've seen it work. Some of them are long-term partners even. So poly webs can get very, 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 very big, and it can also look like the people who are in it are possibly into lifestyles because they like to enjoy maybe even they might even have retreats. I've seen people have retreats when they're in a wet poly and they'll go retreats and then like all the partners hang out like once a year, which is actually kind of cool, but it's not at the same time to me because I get nervous. I'm like, oh wait, we're gonna hang out with all our partners? Oh my god. And then we gotta entertain them all for 3 days? Oh god. I don't know. Like you're not used to that. That may be a lot. I don't know. You know, having the experience of being in the room with both your partners or more than one partner at the same time, and you're not sure if their energy matches for the first time. That's interesting. If you've never tried that, try that. Try to be in a room with two girls you've been talking to, but you haven't like dated them, or two guys you've been interested in, you've been talking to them, but you haven't committed to anyone yet, and let them be in the same room together, and then they both kind of looking at you like, so are you like, are like with that guy too? And then like, are we talking? Like, it gets interesting if you're monogamous and you haven't tried that. That's the next part. That's the next step to this. After find out what dynamic work for you, put yourself in situations where you are going to eventually end up in a poly situation. Hey, how you doing, Hooks? Good morning, good morning. So what I suggest is like I just said, start talking to more than one woman. Let them know. Be honest. Let them know, hey, I'm interested in poly. If you want to do that, if you don't, you want to see how it is, you can say, hey, listen, I'm just talking to you. I'm not into anything serious. And then make it that they're basically in the same situation, same area at the same time. And let them know about each other. It's important. If you don't want nobody to fight. Okay, you don't want nobody to fight. So you like I said, you can say, hey, I talked to more than one person. And then see what that energy is like when you're all in the same room. See how you react. That is an interesting feeling. That is an interesting feeling because you have to not only give energy to one partner, but give another partner energy at the same time. I'm saying partner because that's just like I said, the word soup I have with it. But give the energy to those people so that they can also see, can this man or this woman kind of filter out like the time and who needs what? And that's when you'll start noticing who needs what, how much time, how much energy that person may need. You'll just start noticing, not saying you can or can't do it, but you'll get this idea of what it looks like to be in the same surrounding with more than one partner or more than one person you're interested in and see what that's like. Some people start panicking. You don't got to panic. You can't tell everybody what it is at that point. But definitely it's a different beast and it's a different energy to be in that situation. So let's go look at Hook. Sorry, don't look down, guys. Here, I was swinging for 14 years, never tried pilot. I think it would be a good fit. You would be a good fit for it. So what? Okay, okay. Well, that's wonderful, Hooks. That's wonderful. So definitely, here. I've never really tried this yet. So I will. Let me get the link here. If you guys would like to come up, listen, I'm down today. Let me paste it in there. Okay, I pasted it in there. I might remove it in a little bit. So if you want to jump up, you can. But anyway, so I was gonna say, why do you think you're a good fit for it? So anyway, like I said, transitioning. Oh, you have a lot of love to give, and yes. So that is the thing that happens. Like I just said before, a lot of poly people do hang out with lifestylers. It is very. I didn't even drink water, Lord. So a lot of lifestylers and poly people do hang out amongst each other. A lot of times, the reason that occurs is because we all in the same mind that having more than one partner is okay. So, like I said, the actual structure of relationship would be like monogamy, poly, right? But when you go to lifestyle, it's more activities. But even though that's an act that's done, people who are poly will hang out with a lot of people in lifestyles, and they won't even date them necessarily. It's because their minds are a little bit different, but they will go over there, hang out with them, and do things to them because of the fact that they're in the same mind, in the same knowledge of being with more than one person. So yeah, if you are in lifestyles and you consider that, hey, you know what, being in a relationship with more than one person, uh, long term is something that I could possibly do. That is very possible. And you can be in lifestyle and poly. And a lot of people who are poly thought they were just lifestylers and they weren't. So this is why it's really important to kind of get a little bit more knowledge of what that is, what it looks like. The activities you do have no bearing on the dynamic you choose. It doesn't really matter. You could be three women um into BDSM and you guys could be close. So you could be a close triad that doesn't introduce new partners into your interactions, but you still do BDSM and you have more than one partner though still. So those are things that can happen and you still be off. You know what I'm saying? You're off to the side. So like, this is something that does happen. And sometimes people are like, well, I thought they were just into lifestyles because there's three women and they're just going to be freaky. No, they it's an activity that they do as a group because those are the partners they have. That's the best way to kind of figure out the difference. So yes. So yes, back to what we were saying. So if you want to first test out what it feels like to be in a room with multiple partners, do that. And that would just feel how that feels. Not saying that everyone's gonna be like okay, but you can definitely tell um that there will be need to have some adjustment. So the first time I had to be in the space of two partners, oh Lord, let me try to think of the first time because I have multiple times. So, first time, the first time these two had to be in the room together, hmm, passing by. It wasn't together; they were passing by. So, one came to visit me. Well, I live by myself, so one came to visit me, and then the other one was leaving, and the other one was coming, and that's how the initiation started happening. And then yeah, that's when it started happening. It started occurring where one would pass by. I was usually very, very good at well, I wouldn't say I was good at it 'cause I wouldn't really do anything. My partners had different schedules at the time. So it wasn't like they were really interacting with each other. So when one came, the one probably wasn't even around during those times and vice versa. So but there were times when things started kind of changing um with life that their schedules open up or one would just decide just to pop up. Like I had no schedule. Like I didn't say, oh, Wednesday you come, Tuesday you come. I didn't do that. I have no schedule. I have free range to come whenever, whatever. And so that's when they started meeting, and that was interesting to see them interact. But they had already started kind of interacting over the phone, where they would hear me with one, and they would send the other one. Hey, how are you, Mr. Baston? Thank you. Yeah, I just had to go live today. We're talking about transitioning. Yes, the corn is real. Transitioning into poly and what you can do or expect from that process. And so we were talking about when your partners kind of do the pass by thing, when they passing by each other. And that was interesting. I was nervous. I was nervous. So I have male partners. So that's a little bit different energy. The male partners say hi to each other or hey, what's up? And it's like, okay. Like I did feel like, okay, hopefully it's good energy. And it was good energy. Okay, okay. So is Nebraska gonna listen while she works? That's great. Thank you for taking the time. So yeah, so that was interesting when they used to do that. That was interesting. Then it upgraded to, let me think, being in the car together. They kind of start doing their own thing too. Like it transitioned from that later to the interactions, and then it started being like, oh, I want to come over. Is he there? Like it started being like that, and then it'd be like, oh, we had to be in the car together. We had to go somewhere, or um, and then it kind of jumped real fast, and they did an activity together because I had like tickets and I couldn't go, so they went to a concert. It was very interesting, and it was cool. They were cool. They were cool. Um, so that was, I don't know. I'm gonna let y'all one day hear them explain that how that transition took place. But for me on my side, I just was very cautious because I was nervous because they are kind of different in particular areas, and so I was like, like, are they gonna have a conversation one day and just go bad? Maybe, but you know what? When I thought about it later, I said my partners have a lot of things that they value the most. Actually, we all have in common. So when it comes down to the things that really matter, do they have that in common? Yes. So like our kids, our families, you know, being healthy. Not maybe not being healthy because those two they're out of line. But they like the do like traditional ladies, which I don't think I'm traditional, but they like people to cook for them. Like they do have something in common, both from the South, different parts of the South, but still the South. So there was a lot that we could all kind of talk about. But they do things that aren't similar. Like one more is to like playing games, and they were that. The one's like I don't really play it. The one's been to the Navy, one's not been in the Navy. I mean any thing like that. It's just different paths, different paths. So it's just interesting. That's all. So it's interesting when they met, and then I actually at the time I had three partners. They never acknowledged the third one, even though the third one that I had was actually like I probably saw him most out of everybody, but they didn't even know and acknowledge this man. Be honest, they didn't. So for a long time, I had like three, and they just didn't acknowledge him. They really didn't talk to him. I don't know. Maybe he was younger than all of them. I don't have the answer. And they always mess up his name when they talk about him because they know. They're being just ridiculous. I don't know. I think maybe they didn't think I was as serious with him as everyone else. That could have been possible because I really wasn't connecting to him as much as everyone else, which is probably true. But I just see him a lot. So that was very interesting, like I said. But okay, so yeah, having them in the same space, it kind of throws you off. It don't matter because you, and then they will even do things to see. Like I think they're testing. Like I said, my partners are both transitional partners. So I want y'all to hear what I just said. Very, very, very important. My partners are transitional partners. That means when they met me, they were monogamous. They never dated anyone who's poly, and unless they were very aware and they knew, they did not date someone who was currently with someone else. Okay, so my partners didn't have to transition. They never got with me, and I wasn't with someone. Even the one I was with the longest, and got with me, I was already had been with someone already. So it was like boom, no one, now there's been times we've been by ourselves, like where I just had one partner and I hadn't met anyone yet. That's happened. But overall, they have never like come into this like, oh, hey, I'm poly. I like poly stuff. No, no, not at all. So transitional partners, if you have them, that's a whole big process too. And like I said, you need to talk to someone who has experience in doing this, who has something to give you and positive. Because when you're transitioning, I don't even know if I'm loud enough, guys. When you're transitioning, it can be very difficult. A lot of emotions going on. I will tell you the best advice I will give you if you decide to be poly, and you're thinking I'm poly, do it fresh, no one with you. Because it is hard to transition with someone emotionally and all that with a partner because you're both going through your own emotions individually at different times in different places and you're doing it together. Now, some people think, oh, that's a great building skill. We're doing it together. It's not. It's not. It's not great. It's not great at all. Okay. Because not only are you worried about yourself and your own personal feelings about things and your own processing, now you have to consider someone else and their process and everything else. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I'm going to tell you that path is very hard. And you have to be very, very open to the process with them. One of the things that a lot of people who come to me, they think it's weird that I say this. And like, well, why would you be with people who you know are going to mess up? It makes sense. If you're monogamous going into a poly situation with me or with anyone, think about what I'm about to tell you. They are not poly. They don't know the mindset. A lot of them have either been cheated on or they cheat or have cheated or they know what that looks like. And some of them want to play the get back game. You ever heard of that before? Oh, you with someone, so I gotta be with someone, even though they can't even handle one person. And they're going to mess up. Because as soon as they have a feeling, they're going to react, and the reaction is out of hurt and fear. There's going to happen. So let's say, for example, you have a boyfriend, right? And you have a new one. He knows. Oh yeah, he said he knows that you have a man. And then one day he calls you, and you're like, yeah, hey, I'm sitting here with someone else right now. We're gonna watch this movie. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, I just want to call you and say good night. And then you get, and you're like, oh, okay, good night. I'll see you tomorrow, right? In their mind, they may be like, they could have been watching a movie with me, even though they didn't want to watch a movie in the first place. But now all of a sudden they thinking, well, that could have been me. I could have been there. Um, that's weird. I don't know what to feel right now. And a trauma response, because now you feel cheated on, or you feel some kind of way, but you can't feel some kind of way because you knew you may act out. It doesn't matter how much you say, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should already know. Yeah, you're going to because you're human. And if you can control yourself, that's wonderful. But a lot of people can't. And so that may happen. And then what you do in a trauma response, you may start looking on a dating app. You may call an ex because when you're in monogamy and that happens, you'll do that. So these are not made up things. So when people ask me, oh, when I made that comment a while ago and I said, when partners, I expect them to fuck up. Sorry, language, oh Lord. I expect them to mess up. I don't mean it like, oh, I think everyone sucks. I'm saying I know everyone's human. And when you're transitioning from something you're used to doing all the time, that yes, in fact, you will mess up. And when you mess up, I won't have a shock factor and retaliate. I'm not going to have a shock factor and make a scene. I may have a response, but my response will be, this is how we should handle it. You felt that way, we could have had a conversation. And if you didn't want to have it, then I understand. And then you kind of talk that through. You messed up on that, I understand. Those kind of things happen sometimes. You know what I'm saying? You go through that process. So sorry, I have so that's what you do. So when I say I know because it happens. And you have to be ready for that. And when you're with somebody and you're going through this process, and one of you is hyper focused on someone else doing something crazy, it's a lot. So you want to, if you can, do it by yourself, and then and go into probably by yourself and deal with your own emotions. uh do that first. If you can't, I understand, you got a partner already, you got a man, wife, whatever, you want to go through that process, do that, but find some help, because you are going to have a lot of emotion and everything. Okay. And what you want to do is make sure that you're taking the proper steps to ensure a successful situation. Does that make sense? So you don't want to go into this, hop into this thinking, oh, okay, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be great. And then next thing you know, you and your boyfriend, your husband are having arguments all the time because you can't even get through step one, which is even finding a dynamic that works for you. Lord. So you wanna talk to someone about this. Another thing, red flag for you guys on the plate, making sure when you do talk to someone who's helping you to try to implement the the advice they give you. That even makes sense. Implement the advice they give you. If you're just going to listen to someone tell you some advice, especially if you're paying for it, you, let's say you're paying for it, and you don't listen, and you don't want to listen, I mean, you're just not going to be successful. And they're going to keep taking the money because it makes sense that they're trying to help you. But if you're just fighting all day long, it's just, it just, you got to be at a place where you know, hey, listen, the way I've done it is not working. I have to try another way. Okay. You got to do that. If someone tells you, hey, those things you set up are not working, let's try a different way, try a different way. Don't fight and complain. I did find that's really, it's really hard where you're transitioning together and separate, when you ask for advice from people and they try to give it to you and you don't implement it, and then you just, you know what I'm saying, like, come on. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing expecting different results. Doesn't make sense. I don't want to be insane. I have enough issues. So so you definitely want to make sure that if you do get assistance, please implement those into your processes. Okay. And it sometimes it takes more than 1 or 2 days. Remember that you and your partner are not perfect and that you will mess up, and try to keep the structure good. So now we're talking about transitioning back to next part of transitioning. Have you decided what kind of dynamic you want? If you are going to do it with a partner, and you decide to do that, you guys need to set up some rules and policies for yourself. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't really set up a lot of rules and policies for myself when I started, because I kind of was in by myself doing it, even because I was kind of like polyandry, so I was the only one really seeking out other partners. So the rules had to come with the partners that I had, because I just, I don't know, I didn't really have any at the time. So I understand that. If you set up some for yourself, for example, a lot of your boundaries will come from situations that happen, or partners having some worries, and then you set up those boundaries to that. Some people have boundaries where they're like, hey, let's not have sexual interaction with new partners for so many days. Now some people are like, that's that. If you with me and we together, we gonna give it up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I hear that. But if one of your partners is telling you, especially your main partner, if you have one, is saying, hey, that makes me feel some kind of way, because first off, you don't, I don't even know your situation, but it could happen. I've seen this happen. Oh, you slept with him faster than you had slept with me. You're ready to bust it wide open quicker than you was busted open with me. And some people don't understand relationships are different, and that it doesn't mean there was a standard. See, you may not have a personal standard for busting it wide open as a regular person. Some people work around just like, okay, when I feel the vibe, I feel the vibe, right? And there's other people who are like, I don't have sex with anybody until 2 weeks in. So everyone's not the same. And so you can't think that. And some people just like whatever. So when you're together with someone, make rules and policies based on things that will keep you and your main relationship safe. So if you guys decide, hey, you know what, let's wait 2 weeks, just so that we have a standard for what kind of partners we're looking for. Once again, dynamics are important, and things about this process will change depending on different people. So if you decide I want to get into poly, and it's you know, I don't know how long I want to do this for. Most people who are naturally poly minded, they think forever. Their dating for a purpose is to have partners in their life for a lifetime. That's what it's for. So if you tell them, well, it's not going to be, well, we only want to do this maybe 5 years or until we're about to have kids or whatever your thing is, okay, you just basically told that person that they don't have to make real connections. Think about what I just said. You just told your partner you don't have to make real connections, or you can make a connection, but know that that connection will have to end at some point. So basically, you just told your partner not to invest in someone, but invest enough to be able to sleep with them and spend some time with them. So you've lowered the standard of the partner that they will get. And I think that's hard for people to understand. You have lowered the standard for your partner to find other partners if they're poly minded already. Because you basically told them there's, at the end of the day, if you really, really like someone, you're going to have to give that up. So then the standards for their partner that they find will not be good standards. They're going to say, okay, well, this person, especially if it's a woman looking for a man, men, that's a no-go. Do not tell your naturally poly woman partner to lower her standards for men. I know that's really hard because you could say she found you, she had a standard and you met that standard and boom, you're with her. You're saying, hey, you got to find a man who doesn't hit the standards I hit. They don't qualify like me because you're not going to be with me with that long. It's basically what you just said. So then they're like, okay, so now you're going to find your partner finding men that don't hit any of the standards that you fit. So let's say that man may not have a job. You say, oh, I had to have a job and all that to get you. He don't got to do nothing. Yeah, but you told me that I didn't have to keep the same standards. And so once you do that, you've changed that dynamic and they're not looking for that anymore. So you shouldn't do that. Second part, you want to also set up, like I said, so this is going to be based on each person individual, but just examples. So if you also tell your partner, okay, it might be for a, I don't know how long, but let's try it, see if it works for us. Okay, that's where you want to be. You don't want to be in a lot of things, unless, like I said, you're talking about, okay, we can be poly until we have kids or something like that. But still in the back of your mind, know that could change. Because if you find a partner that is really great, you may not want to have them not be with you forever. So remember that, okay? Yes. So that's one part of that transition. And then the next part of the transition, once you decide on some rules, maybe not have sex for 2 weeks, whatever the heck you want to use. And then you might want to say, okay, so also our standard is, so I've even seen people go to the standards of, do we want people to work? Do we want people are this age? Some people are like, okay, listen, I don't want us to really date anybody too young. I don't want anybody to too old. I mean, try to find whatever standard y'all need to hit, find that, stand on it. Once you decide on your standards and rules and policies, stick with them for at least a month. Do not change the path because you will trigger all kinds of things, chaos and madness. Please do not change the rules unless it is a have to or something happened that you have to change it. What I mean by something happened, listen to this, not, I found someone, but they told me that, they don't have to meet these standards and they don't think they should meet this standard anymore because it doesn't make sense to them. Okay, but that person wasn't involved in the standard making. And that even as if you're by yourself. If you're by yourself and you made a standard for yourself, hey, I'm not gonna have sex with people 4 weeks because this makes me feel safe when it comes to making sure people are here for me. And the guy comes up to you or woman comes up to you and it's like, well, baby, we don't gotta wait. I really already know what I want. But the standard wasn't made for you to come and tell me that my standard doesn't. It's not about that. It's not about. Yeah, you make me feel great. I feel very safe with you. So let's go ahead and wait it out because it was made for a reason. And the reason wasn't for someone else to convince you it doesn't work because they are actually gaining from you lowering the standard or getting rid of the rule. No one else is really winning but them because you have the standard for a reason because you felt some kind of way. And then someone comes and tells you, well, that's stupid. You shouldn't feel that way. Okay, but I do, and that's there for a reason. So remember that whatever you put in place, keep it for a month. You can change it later if you want to. Keep it for a month. And I think that's just how it is. Don't change your standards for someone else. If someone is really there for you, they're going to be willing to wait for whatever it is. Not have to be sex. They're going to be willing to wait for that time to change. Hey, Taylor, man. You. I am well. We're just talking about poly transition. When you're transitioning to poly, and we were talking about how some people who are transitioning into that should hold some standards for themselves, and even if they're not monogamous, even if they're by themselves in their poly journey or with others, they have to stay in true on what they said. So if they made a policy like, "Hey, I'm not going to let a woman come live with me after 2 weeks," or I'm not going to have anybody live with me for a year, at least up to a year, or until I know they're long term, then keep that standard. Don't let someone come and say, "Oh, but I love you, I want to be with you," and change your standard. Your standard is your standard, and it's there for a purpose. And you got to keep that that standard going. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's good. Okay, you said Elizabeth. Okay, let's read what the hook says. With all the inflation, a lot of people more likely to be poly, making ends meet or not to live with their parents. Exactly. So these are red flags. People do not do this. This is the problem. Okay. So a lot of people are using poly as a way to just be able to live day to day. Okay. And I get it. But you can have roommates and do that. Okay. There are things called roommates. I do see this a lot of times with men who will be living in the house with multiple women. Uh, you know what I'm saying? And they'll say, "Oh, they're all helping me pay the rent, but we're poly. I'm with all of them." Basically, he's getting sexed and he's getting all his rent, or at least 3/4 his rent paid. That's what that is. so be aware, women. That is not real poly. If he's just sleeping with all y'all, he don't give y'all real no attention, and he's not giving you relationship vibes. He's giving you got demonetized. Trying to be that's my language. He's just giving you the stick, and all he want to do is make sure his bills is paid. He can go on vacations, and that's it. And y'all cooking and cleaning for him. He ain't worried about you. He add new girl to the tribe every 2 days. That is not poly. That is not poly. But if you want to live that life, be great. But know that that will end in foolishness if you're trying to be poly. Okay, I mean that's just helpful hints. Okay, but if you want to go into that, that's on you. And please see, I don't like giving out the bad examples sometimes. I feel like I'm giving ideas to people. Don't do that. Okay, don't do that. Please don't go find 3 girls who listen. This is bad too, but there are some people who can see the women out here who are on their last leg. They're like they haven't had a relationship in 3 years and they making money. They don't understand why they can't get a man. He will pick you, boo. He will pick you, and he'll be like, "Hey, look. I just rented this house. You can live there. We could just be cool and see if it works." And he's like, "Yeah, I got another girl and I'm trying to try poly. You wanna?" And then like you don't have to be alone. We can go to movies. We can make moves, baby, right? And he's got you and the other one, and then she. Oh yeah, she cooks. And the other one, she also. There's always a stripper. There's always a stripper. I don't know what. There's always one. Okay, and he has a stripper, and she's cool, because she lets you use some of her clothes, and y'all got a stripper pole, and you're having fun on the weekends, and y'all throwing back shots. Yes, that's what you'll get. Okay, okay. That is not poly. That is a fun house. That's a college frat house with a lot of women and one D being passed around. Okay. The only one winning in that game is him. The rest of y'all got to use roses 4 times a week. Okay. He's still out here at the club finding new booze. Okay. That is not what we're doing. And I want y'all not to be part of that. Don't be part of the frat house poly scam. We're not doing it. Stay away. Okay. Let me read these comments. Okay, they're gonna go. Oh, you're gonna go to Colombia. Okay, so yeah, please be safe and have fun on your birthday. Are you going back to Thailand? Okay, so yeah, I think a lot of our passport bros. I'm hopefully that you guys get some wonderful documentation because I did see Taylor made also. I think it was Cambodia. Wait, I'm probably wrong. Listen, because I was just looking at it earlier. I didn't get to watch the video because I wanted to make this video, but it's fine. He was definitely out here doing it big. So if you guys want to go visit other countries, please do. You will see how poly is in other places. It's really interesting to see how relationships evolved in other locations. So like I said, if you were in America, and I know Taylor made a video about America, and you just like, are you good for dating, right? It's a lot of chaos in relationships. I'm not saying just black relationships. A lot of chaos in relationships, a lot of structures in relationships that are just all over the place, and a lot of people are trying to find their footing and deal with a lot of transition that's taking place in this new world we're in. So yes, be careful out there. It's just really hard to find someone who really genuinely wants to be in your life, or it doesn't have a lot of damage from the people been running around acting wild, to be honest. So you gotta kind of be prepared when you get in a relationship for someone who may have some damage and some work that needs to be done. I'll be honest, right now in this kind of atmosphere, I would think it was weird if you just found someone and you guys didn't need a little bit of therapy or not just individually, but with each other, or just work on things or have some issues where you have to work out some old stuff from behind so you can move forward. So Cambodia. Okay. Single de Mayo quote, can't wait to go back to Thailand. Okay, I'll let y'all yes, thank you for the Pod by Nations. Yes, so I'm gonna have a new one. I have 2 people who coming on. One gentleman, I've known him for a good minute now, like a couple years, off and on through live. So he's gonna come, and he's from the islands, but he actually lives there. So he actually dates American women, which I think is interesting. So I definitely want to have him on the show to talk about that, and ask, what's going on. Like, are island men coming to date here? And or is it some, what does that look like? I want to ask him that because he doesn't live here. So, but he does date American women, and he's actually on a lot of American apps, which is interesting. I don't understand. We're gonna talk about it. His name is Dale. We'll bring him on. He said he hit my inbox up. I don't know. I'll have to go. I have to go look. And then we have a few other ones. So definitely want to take a look at that. And then I'll keep going Pod by Nations and just go every other place. I would like to do one in Brazil. Someone who's been in Brazil. We want to do that one next. It's wonderful. And then I do want to try to do a place in Africa. So we're gonna get that all together. Hey, knowledge relationships, and we're gonna pull it together because I do want to see some other ones, and I get some women. I want to get some women on there too. So we definitely want to do that. So I'll be planning that. So you guys look out for that. And then our Ask Miss Polly. You guys know you can ask Miss Polly. I go on tag, I go live, and then people come on there ask me questions about Polly. Sometimes they ask me all kinds of silly questions, whatever. I answer those, and I just ask Miss Polly, and then our Polly talks. So in our health sessions. But we got like 3 series or 4 series going on. It's great. And we just talk about stuff like there. It's going to be very interesting. Lots and lots of locations, right? Okay. So we definitely wanted to dive into that. Okay, so back to this. Sorry. So you guys get me all distracted with your lovely comments. So transitioning. So next part, after you guys figure out what you're gonna do, hold your standards for your month. No poly frats. Okay, don't be fooled. And men, wait, before I move on, men, do not be fooled by ladies because you think that they are so gentle and kind. These women out here are kind of brutal too sometimes. There are women who do purposefully know that they are not the cream of the crop and that they're not even trying to be the cream of the crop. And they will come after men who are at their low places also. Oh, girl, he ain't had a girl in a while. He ain't had none in a while, girl, but he got a good job because he's been focusing on his job because he ain't been worried about ladies because he's like, oh man, dating stupid, blah, blah, blah. You know, he may be a manager somewhere. And they're like, okay, well, let me hook up with him. They hook up with them and they just take control of that whole man's finances. They do all kinds of things and they use that man up until there's no more to be used. And then they tell him bye bye. Thank you for being a stepdad to my kids. On Father's Day, we just act like you don't exist though, but you've been daddy for 9 months. Okay, you don't exist though. Okay, so when Father's Day come out, you high five him in June and go about your life. Okay, you took all his money because he didn't spend all his savings trying to cater to you because he's supposed to, right, be a man, do all those things. He didn't got your hair done, your nails done. You looking right the last 9 months, looking good out here. And then, okay, and then all of a sudden, then you know, when you getting some money problems because now she didn't spend up all the credit cards. Okay, she did ran it up. Okay, and now you're like, damn, listen, okay, they just told me that we're not getting these bonuses, babe. I gotta go work harder. She's like, oh, he ain't spending time with me because now she stay home, she looking good. Now she want to run in the club. She found a new booze and she could contemplating on going out here and flirting. And you at working hard for kids that ain't yours and doing all this stuff, and she does not care. She stopped making food, all kinds of crazy stuff. And next thing you know, she's like, oh, I found me a new boo in the club based off of her new look because now she didn't got a BBL because she used your money. Now she looked good. Now she's like, oh, I done upgraded some, baby. Thank you. Right? She said thank you when she had it done. She had to, make sure she was good. But now you have to work longer to keep up with these bills and children and all this. And now she says peace to you and moves on to the new boo who's in delusion because the reality is she used you to upgrade herself to get a different man who's above her and left you in the dust. Because without you, she would not have been able to level up or you wouldn't, whatever. She wouldn't be able to get that. She wouldn't have looked like that. She would not have been able to present herself in that fashion. A lot of these women run around driving cars and all that stuff, but it's their man's car. It's their man's stuff, or their man got it for them. And they look like they got it together, they doing well, and you never see the children, right? Because you at home with children, you pay for daycare for the children. And now, since they appear different from another man, he's like, hey, she got some kids, but somebody watches them and all this, and she's really cool, and she makes me breakfast and all this. She got a whole man home who's tired, ain't got no dinner. He got kids jumping all over the bed. All kinds of stuff, and they ain't even his kids, and he doing all this, and she didn't upgrade. Ain't that some stuff? So, Box, how you doing? Hey, guys. I'm sorry if I didn't know. So, yes, no, this is true. This is true. So those women who do that, and not just do that to me, and my feelings about it, especially when the second man usually knows you exist. They usually know you exist, and they're like, oh, I'm a better man than him. They usually know you exist. To me, that's still poly. It's just unethical. It's because he knew about you. He knew you was at that. Oh yeah, don't worry about him. I'm about to get rid of him anyway. So you was in a relationship with a whole woman who knew you had another man. You knew she was getting beat down by him, and you was still willing to be in a relationship with her. And you might have said no, it didn't matter. But I've seen guys still date those women and take them, and then they do the same thing to you because you're just a stepping stool for the next level. You're just a stepping stool for the next level. That's it. We just wait. She just waiting for the next one to come to level her up, or so that she can use them to get what she needs. And then when you no longer fit what they need, you are of no use. And that's what I say red flags. And that's what I'm saying by be aware of who you're dating. And most poly people don't want those interaction. Sorry if it's freezing up a little bit. You don't want those interactions. Most people are just thinking of how I can use someone. And you can see that fairly quickly, but a lot of people are blinded by lust, and they confuse it with love. And this is why vetting is very important, or just being very open about what your intentions are. You can say, I don't want to be with you in that way, but we can chill until you find your man. You can say that because you have the right to say that. And then someone who wants to be with that category, let them be there. But stop playing with these men. And this is women, stop playing with these men's emotions, telling them there's a forever and you really don't want a forever. You just want to get yourself right. You're in a bad place. It's hard for you to take care of your kids. It's hard for you to do this stuff. And 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 that's part of you having the kids and having a bad relationship. It's just part of what it doesn't mean it's your fault, but it's part of what happens when you're with someone and you lose them. It's just part of the loss, and you got to take the loss. There's negatives with the loss regardless of how it happened, and you got to roll with those. Okay, and then you got to make yourself better, and just know that when someone else comes into your life that they take on a lot with you, and that's okay. And that's men and women, it's okay. And then if they accept that and they want to move forward, fine. Don't force and trick people into being with you under the preconception that it's something that's not. And then you cause other people to be angry and they spread that anger on, and you just basically you're polluting your own pool of dating. I know that sounds weird. It's like this is a whole pool, right, of people we date and stuff like that. And every time you hurt someone, you're throwing back out, throwing back out. It's more likely that someone else is gonna pick up that fish, or 3 years from now, I'm gonna pick up a fish that that person threw back in. They damaged because they thought it wasn't a big deal, and you're tainting the pool that you're in. And sooner or later, no one's going to want to fish in the pool. And that's what's happening. No one wants to fish in the pool in Western worlds because our pool is so tainted, and no one cared to fix it, and no one cared to stop damaging people because we here in the Western world only care about ourselves and how it can better us. And that mindset is just very toxic. Now we got off topic, so I want to go back. But that is what a lot of that is. A lot of that is. So we want to make sure that when you're going out here, women and men, to remember and be mindful of the things you do to others. They transfer that to someone else, and they take that somewhere else. And unless that's handled and dealt with, and everything like that, you just throwing it back out there for one day, it'll come back to you. And that's what that karma stuff's about. That's like karma gonna come back, right? Okay, so transition from poly. So next part, like I said, find your partner. Don't be trapped into the foolishness. And then once you kind of start jumping into dating, some people make dating apps. There is a dating app. I don't want to promote it, but I do at the same time. This dating app, I don't want to promote it because obviously it's not, they're not paying me, but whatever. There's a dating app for poly people. There is that's only poly and lifestyle is there too. But it's a lot of criteria. You gotta check boxes like you into this play. You'll be surprised at some of the stuff they ask you, and you just click, 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 and then it kind of puts you in a group of people, and you kind of pick yes or no. It's kind of like Tinder, but it's not. It's a little bit more intense because it's a lot of stuff, and you can kind of find people there. That one I like, and even where I live in the middle of Nebraska, I found partners, and they're kind of close. Well, not partners. I find people to match with, and then you can also go on Facebook dating. I think Facebook dating is also just an easy way to get. It's booty calls. It's booty calls, but some people find, you know, kisses on there. I've been to BLK. I have found one of my partners on BLK. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think his intent was to date like that. But I don't know. I don't think so. But I just so happened that we clicked. I don't think his intent was to date long term. But BLK, you can definitely find people in your area, and they kind of tell you what they want. Friends with benefits or blah blah blah. Actually, I found a couple people on BLK, which was really cool. And then if you stay on there, you'll start seeing like multiple. You'll see one, oh, I saw you on that app, or I saw you on that app. So you'll see them. So the dating apps, I think, is a good way to kind of throw yourself out in there, throw yourself in the pool. But getting in some of these groups on Facebook, that kind of opens up a door for poly people if you want to just see what it's about. Please be aware. I've always told people this, man. I don't know if they have listening or not. If you get into a poly group on Facebook, read the room, okay? Read the room. A lot of times they're mixed with lifestylers. Read the room. And then a lot of times you're with a lot of people who are new to the poly world and they mix lifestyles. Okay, need y'all to pay attention. So some people don't understand poly is. They say, I want to be poly to jump into the group and they end up doing stuff that looks very lifestyleish. You got to be aware and kind of know what that looks like. And then if you're older, I'm not even saying too much older. If you're like 30, there are a lot of some of these groups have a whole bunch of 20-year-olds in them. Okay, nothing's wrong with 20-year-olds, but poly's probably new to them, and the process is different. You're in a different place in your 30s. Plus, you go to a group that's mostly, 30s plus older. You're going to have a little bit more stability in those groups. You're going to have people who are really looking for something concrete. You're going to find a lot less solo poly people in there. Um, you're going to find people with more structure and actually looking for something. Okay. 20-year-olds age is a little bit different. They 6 months to them is long. I don't know. So you got to be able to navigate through that. So just jump in there, kind of just fill out the room, and remember that a lot of people who are poly, you meet them, you're like, oh, it's so exciting. But remember that they deal with multiple partners. So some people like start breaking down, like, oh my gosh, like they only text me today and they were so into me, and then they're not into me. I don't think so because they haven't talked to me all day. Okay, listen, they probably have more than one partner. You got to remember that you're not the only one. But new relationship energy will change that dynamic. I actually hate new energy. I hate new relationship energy. It's a lie. It's a lie. That's why it's a lie, because it'll be high and then it'll be low, or it'll be high and then it'll change. And you're like, oh my god, I'm panicking. No, I hate it. I don't even want it. Like, just can we just act normal? Like I don't even want you to call me like every day, like hi, and like I don't know. New energy is just a lot, and I feel like I just want it to be normal. I don't know. Okay, so remember that, yeah, new relationship energy is high and usually highly sexual. You get very highly intense sexual energy because you're like, oh my gosh, this person likes me or I like them. A lot of these groups that are poly slash lifestyle, you're gonna see a lot of negative, so a lot of negative stuff, not Taco Tuesday, but you're gonna see a lot of stuff. You're gonna see a lot of videos, just be prepared. Just be prepared. Be prepared to know that your energy may be like, oh wow. And some groups have two chats usually, one for people who want to be exhibitionist and exciting, and then others that want a little bit of more just conversation. But you're usually only gonna find that in the older poly groups. If you go in the younger ones, it's gonna feel like a lifestyle party. It's what's gonna feel like, and you're gonna get that feel. So I'm not saying there's not older ones, because I do know some older ones, but I'm just saying for overall, that's the energy you're gonna get. And remember that everyone, a lot of times, I would say like 70%. 70% of poly people are a little bit more open with uh sexual conversation, things like that, because we have to talk about it a lot more. Um, just even for safety purposes. So don't feel stressed out if you're having a conversation with someone and they bring up sexual things. Not saying like, oh, we're going to do something, but they bring up stuff like, okay, so do you have like, is your drive high or you have a low drive? Because there are people who are poly who have low sex drives, and they're there for hugs. They're there for hugs. They're there for hugs and snuggling and uh sexual stuff sometimes, but they're not there for that. So you gotta know that these conversations will take place. Don't feel nervous about it. If you feel uncomfortable, let them know, that's a little fast for me. I don't really like to talk about that. And it's not a bad thing to say that. And don't feel weird. Say, hey, it's a little fast for me and I don't, know where to go. So when you're entering into the chat. Be aware of that energy. Oh, like I said, some of these topics I'll get more detailed on later, but just want to touch on them. But yeah, the transition usually is kind of like that, and it's no problem, no problem. So when you want to transition, like I said, reach out to someone, think about your dynamic. If you're transitioning with someone, make rules, establish them for at least a month. That's not compromising right there. Okay. Then if you decide if you want to do it by yourself, still make up some standards for yourself, um, for your dating, and then kind of go from there. Then you can jump into making profiles. I will suggest too in your profile, if you want to make some profiles on dating apps, please say you're poly. I know some people are like, well, if I say I'm poly, I don't get hits. And that is true. You probably won't get hits. As a woman, you'll get hits. As a woman, it is easier to say you're poly publicly and get hits, especially in this atmosphere. It is easier to say that you're poly. Men, you can say you're poly. Some actually I see it say, I am not, I date people, but I am not trying to be in a serious relationship. I've seen some people do that, even though I think that is not being all the way honest. I've seen them do that to have the conversation later because they're like, if they're like, oh, well, I just don't want anything serious, you go, hey, well, I'm poly, and I have more than one partner, and since you're not into something serious, is that something you could possibly be into? So it kind of just opens the conversation. Make sure you have the conversation, of course, but it opens it up. So I have seen someone use that as a profile. I've seen a lot of men usually don't put in their profile that they're poly. They just say who they are and all that good stuff. And then when they have a conversation, they bring it up. A lot. I don't. They just don't think it's successful on the apps. That's not what I'm saying on the apps. If a woman is feeling you, she comes up to you and tell her what it is. It is what it is, and then she can make that choice. Do not steal someone's choice to say no, because once, matter of fact, it even makes it better. Because once they agree, now anything that comes with that, they have to say, "Hey, I said yes, so I gotta think if I want to deal with this because I had already said yes." They are making the choice, and they're making the choice to stay. And I think some people overlook that. Making the choice to be with someone or be in a situation, if you make the choice yourself, it's totally different than you being forced or tricked or told one story and it changes later, because at that point they're making the choice and they're deciding to stay with you or not with you, and that means a lot more than someone who's forced to stay with you or now they have to because of these circumstances. It means so much more. And I know that's really scary. I literally had a conversation with someone and they were like, oh, you don't believe in legal marriage? Oh, that seems really scary because, like, they could just leave you. They could leave me in regular marriage. Oh, yeah, but they'll think twice about it because they'll financially be hurting. So now you're telling me basically the only reason why someone would stay with me long term is if I'm forcing them to. I can keep that. I don't need to ensure someone stays with me. That sounds ridiculous. You're either gonna stay or you're not. That's basically how I feel. And if you don't want to be here, I don't want you here either. So please, that's cool. I'm good. And I think that's the thing with legal marriage that right now is just so stressful. A lot of people say, "Oh, no one's getting married now," because you just answered it. The people who are pro marriage who say those things, you just answered it. It is so stressful and overwhelming mentally. You have to deal with being hurt and unhappy and all that. Now you're not only that, you have to deal with financial stresses and worries based on a marriage you have committed a contract with. Hell no, I'm not going. Sure, I'm gonna wait it out until all the kids are gone because that each one of them was shoot like what 60K off top throughout their lifetime. Oh, I'm good. Like it's like you rather wait. That's why most people who get divorced is right after their kids leave go to high school. Nowadays, a little different, but most people who do divorce is right after them kids go out the house, especially men. They wait till all the kids are out the house and they dip because the kids are what's going to cost them. It's not the divorce usually at the end of the day. It's not the divorce. It's the kids. kids expensive, and you have to help pay for her upkeeping while she has the children. You buy they will wait it out. A man will have a whole woman. They have a whole woman 8 years, and they will divorce her ass. And they'll have what I mean by that, for have a whole woman for 8 years, like having a whole side chick for 8 years. The woman's like, oh, I've been waiting 8 years. He finally divorced her when the kids left. Yeah, because he knew he wasn't dumb and I can keep his damn money and he can keep you too, and then now we good. It just the math. That's why you saw in the 80s and 90s, you saw when they did do divorce, it was always when them kids left. And the women were always like, I was with you for 18 years. I don't understand. Girl, he didn't want to be with you after 3 years. He just bullshitted you and was cheating until he can get the hell out without having to pay out. He got into the contract, and that's why sometimes I get upset. Not all the time when men are like, "Oh, well, you got to keep your man. You get married, and that ensures he'll stay." No, that ensures that he'll stay based on a contract. He don't even want to be in this shit. He gonna be an asshole to me. He gonna treat me bad. He gonna do all this stuff, and he gonna ignore me even at that because he don't want me to get too upset because then I might press divorce. He gonna do all of that. He gonna do the bare minimum and then press forth when these kids hit 18. And he ain't gonna want to have no more kids. You ever notice that? Think back in the day. In 90s, some people only had 2 kids, maybe 3. That was a whole lot. But usually like 1 or 2, right? That was enough. Most of those men who dipped when their kids turned 18, they only had like 1 or 2 because they're like, I ain't giving that girl no more kids. You a lie. Because I do not want to pay that bill. Okay. That's why. Those men want to dip long time ago. Now, women are starting to say, I don't want to wait anymore because the men are the ones who do have the biggest loss when it comes to being married and lose when you're actually legally married. That is true. I'm not going to say it's not true. That's true. But since they have the biggest loss, they will pretend to stay in it and BS and not really be in it for the woman and emotionally the woman or women are saying, hey, I don't want to stay in this relationship. And the guy's like, oh, look, but she broke the contract. She's initiating. He's initiating it because men have the most to lose in that situation. If that's the case, don't get married at all. And I'm not trying to be a jerk because I'm not saying don't ever get married. Have a ceremony or something. Because once you do that, you actually aren't ever sure if that person wants to be with you or not. That paper ensures that they are legally tied to you, but it does not ensure that they want to be with you. All that says is that if you break this contract of being with me, you are going to get screwed. Now, how bad you get screwed is up to you. You are going to get screwed. That's all that does. It's nothing more than that. And people are like, oh, it's not true. I'm not talking about your vows and all that. I'm talking about that actual paper is actually a contract. When you go read it, has any of y'all read that? Go read it. It's a contract that says once you decide to break the agreement, and the agreement isn't the I'll be here with you for life and all that. That is vows. Those are vows through the church. That is not in the contract you sign when you go to the courthouse. The courthouse has a whole list of stuff that can happen to you when you break the contract of legal marriage. And it is not any of those things you said. The only people are like, oh, well, hey, it says you can't cheat. No. Go read the contract. It says if you are the one showing the wrongdoing, and the wrongdoing could be this, or this. It's a contract that says it can be broken by you doing these acts. It is not saying, oh, I love and protect you. No, they didn't say that shit. Because if your wife get beat up at the club, the divorce, you can't go and say, oh, my husband let me get beat up by Betty at the club. We got to get a divorce. No, it don't say that. Because he didn't protect you when you got your ass whooped. So basically, that's not what it's for. And it's not what it says, okay? That's not what it said, okay? That's not part of the document. The document says that you can initiate a divorce based on this and this and this. It ain't say nothing about protecting you from harm. And if your husband doesn't protect you, he cannot go get divorced and they be on his side because no one cares, okay? That no, we don't care. Okay. All he's obligated to do is make sure he doesn't violate the contract he signed at the courthouse. And then he's good. That's it. That's it. Okay, let's read this, Mr. Nebraska. Okay, let me go back down here. Yeah, old school men. Yes, absolutely. And it says, these new men, they'll go ahead and leave before the kids get grown. So yeah, I'm not saying nowadays, different dynamic, different dynamic. Now women are pressing, men are pressing off. But a lot of them, like I said, like there's some crazy stuff. Okay, so there's some crazy things happening. I'm sorry, we just transitioned off, but there are some crazy things happening. I even heard about a lady who supposedly had a ceremony, like spent tens of thousands of dollars on this wedding. This man spent, and then he found out like 4 weeks later, his girlfriend or his wife now was cheating on him. He caught her in the act, and then when he went to go file a divorce, they were like, "Oh, well, your wife never actually filed the paperwork that says you're actually married, so you're not even married." I was real. I was like, "Damn, we do that now, okay." So yeah, so I definitely want to share. So yes, I appreciate you guys today. I'm gonna wrap this live up, Lord. It was not supposed to go this long, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Um, I want to tell you guys, please subscribe and hang out with us. Miss Nebraska is on Twitch. I think she's taking a break still. Check out Taylor Made. Shout out to Anton Hooks. Antoine Hooks. Sorry, I say everybody's name wrong. Yeah, don't take it personally. I barely say my name right. Um, Soapbox stopped by, Dodge Relationships. Um, let's see, anybody else? Just want to make sure I got everybody. All right. So yeah, thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me, listening to me today. I didn't want to do this video about that, and then we're gonna have hopefully some game reviews here um, in a minute. I haven't done Hogwarts. Resident Evil 4 just came out. Um, I actually did. We're gonna do the demo, and so we're gonna have some of those come out. 'Cause I haven't done a game review in a minute, so I'm gonna do that, and also we're gonna do Poly Nations. So we're gonna have all that coming out here shortly. And if you guys have any comments below or requests of topics we can talk about, please put them up there. I have a few already put out, but we're definitely gonna try to work on being at least once a week on our channel, having the Poly Nations and having a Poly Talk. I want to get into Poly Talk once a week, and then we'll see. Cause I'm kind of spotty. Like if I commit to something, I'm like Corey Kitchen. It's never gonna happen. Man, I'm not even supposed to say it. I'm just gonna do it because I tell you, for some reason, it doesn't work. Okay, I don't know what that's about, but thank you guys for tuning in. I'll check you out another time. You guys have a wonderful day. Be blessed in all the things that you do. Have a strong mind, and don't stop being you and being great. All right, guys. See you later.